Ford Torino Cobra emerged at a time when the muscle car war in America was at its peak, during the late 1960s and early 1970s. Ford had already made a name for itself with the Mustang and the Fairlane GT, but the Torino Cobra represented an ambitious effort to bring high performance to the intermediate car segment. Unlike the compact Mustang, the Torino was larger, offering more interior space and a more substantial road presence, which appealed to buyers who wanted muscle car power without sacrificing practicality. Ford engineers recognized that enthusiasts wanted something more than just a stylish exterior. They wanted brute performance, handling that could match the car's power, and a car that could perform on both the street and the drag strip. The Torino Cobra was designed to meet those exact demands, combining a sleek, fastback silhouette with muscular design cues, such as its scoops, bold front grills, and racing stripes that visually set apart from the standard Torino. Under the hood, the Cobra offered a range of potent V8 engines, with the crown jewel being the legendary 429 Cobra jet. This engine, introduced in 1969, was designed to deliver maximum horsepower and torque right off the showroom floor, making it competitive with Chevrolet's big block offerings and Chrysler's Hemi engines. The Cobra jet featured a high-lift camshaft, dual 4-barrel carburetors, and heavy-duty internals, making a favorite for drag racers and enthusiasts who want an unfiltered connection between accelerator and asphalt. Even the lower-tier engine options provided impressive performance, allowing the Torino Cobra to appeal to a broad spectrum of buyers, from weekend racers to daily drivers who wanted a car that turned heads at stoplights. The Torino Cobra was also notable for its attention to aesthetics and interior design, for it offered bold color combinations, vinyl trim interiors, and sport-oriented features like bucket seats, tachometers, and rally-style steering wheels. These elements made the car feel more than just a performance machine. It was a statement of style and identity. Buyers who chose the Cobra were making a declaration that they wanted the thrill of a muscle car, but in a package that could handle family errands or long highway cruises. The combination of aggressive performance and subtle luxury positioned the Torino Cobra as a bridge between pure racing machines and everyday cars, making a unique offering in Ford's lineup. By the early 1970s, the Torino Cobra had already started to carve out its reputation. Car enthusiasts appreciated that it could compete head-to-head with established muscle car icons like the Chevrolet Chevelle SS and the Dodge Charger R/T. It was not the cheapest or most mass-produced muscle car, but its exclusivity added to its allure. The Torino Cobra was seen as a car for the serious enthusiasts who demanded both performance and style, a rare balance in an era when some muscle cars were focused solely on engine output, without regard for refinement. This early success set the stage for the Cobra to become a legend in the muscle car world, even if its future would later be threatened by economic and regulatory pressures. As the Ford Torino Cobra matured into the early 1970s, it quickly earned a reputation as one of the most formidable muscle cars on the road and the drag strip. Enthusiasts and racers alike recognized that the Cobra was not merely a big engine in a boxy car, but a carefully engineered performance machine. Ford offered specialized performance packages that transformed the already potent Torino into a true muscle car competitor. The heavy-duty suspension packages included stiffer springs, stronger sway bars, and reinforced chassis components, allowing the Cobra to handle its high-horsepower engines without excessive body roll. Optional rear axles with limited slip differentials improved traction, a critical advantage when launching the 429 Cobra jet's raw torque off the line. For drag racers, these features made the Cobra a formidable opponent, capable of running impressive quarter-mile times straight from the showroom. On the streets, the Torino Cobra was equally captivating. Its aggressive styling, racing stripes, bold hood scoops, and distinctive grills, was a visual proclamation of power. Buyers appreciated that the car combined brute strength with subtle elegance, avoiding the over-the-top flamboyance of some of its competitors. Inside, the sporty interiors with bucket seats, rally instruments, and optional tachometers reinforced the car's driver-focused character. It was a vehicle that made a statement wherever it went, whether cruising city streets or roaring down back roads. Muscle car magazines of the era frequently highlighted the Torino Cobra's combination of speed, comfort, and style, elevating its status among performance enthusiasts. The Cobra also made its mark in competitive racing. Its most potent engines and reinforced drivetrains allowed it to compete successfully in drag racing and even NASCAR events. In drag strips across the country, Torino Cobras became a favorite for racers looking to exploit their high horsepower without compromising reliability. The Ford 29 Cobra jet, in particular, was praised for its ready-to-race nature, often requiring only minor modifications to dominate local drag competitions. In NASCAR, Ford leveraged the Torino platform's aerodynamics and powerful engine options to challenge Chevrolet and Dodge entries, cementing the car's reputation as a serious performance contender. Sales during this period reflected the Cobra's popularity, though it remained relatively exclusive compared to mass-market muscle cars. Enthusiasts were drawn to its balance of speed, style, and usability, while other muscle cars of the era were often extreme, sacrificing comfort for raw performance. The Torino Cobra offered a more refined alternative without diluting its power. It appealed to drivers who wanted a car that could handle daily life while still delivering adrenaline-inducing acceleration. Car clubs, racing teams, and street enthusiasts quickly embraced the Torino Cobra, forming communities that celebrated its unique place in the muscle car pantheon. At its peak, the Torino Cobra symbolized the perfect intersection of American engineering ambition and performance-driven design. It was more than just a car. It was a statement that Ford would compete with the best muscle cars of the era, providing power, style, and versatility in one compelling package. This golden period of the Cobra set expectations high, but as the decade progressed, looming external pressures such as rising insurance costs, fuel crises, and stricter emissions regulations would soon challenge the very essence of what made the Torino Cobra great. For now, however, it reigned as one of the most respected and celebrated muscle cars of its generation. Despite its early success and rising popularity, the Ford Torino Cobra faced mounting challenges by the mid-1970s that would eventually lead to its decline. The first major blow came from the economic landscape of the era. The 1973 oil crisis dramatically shifted consumer priorities as fuel prices skyrocketed and Americans began seeking smaller, more fuel-efficient cars. Large, gas-guzzling muscle cars like the Torino Cobra suddenly appeared impractical to the average buyer, no matter how powerful or stylish they were. This shift in consumer sentiment coincided with rising insurance premiums for high-performance vehicles. Young drivers, a core audience for muscle cars, were now paying exorbitant costs to insure vehicles with engines that exceeded 400 horsepower. For many, the combination of high fuel consumption and insurance made owning a Cobra less appealing, even as the car itself remained capable and visually stunning. At the same time, government regulations began to reshape the automotive landscape. Stricter emission standards introduced in the early 1970s forced manufacturers to detune high-performance engines, reducing horsepower and torque across the board. For the Torino Cobra, this meant that its once ferocious 429 Cobra jet no longer delivered the same adrenaline-inducing performance that had made it a legend among enthusiasts. Compression ratios were lowered, carburetors were adjusted for cleaner emissions, and certain performance parts were replaced with milder alternatives. The result was a car that still looked aggressive but no longer possessed the raw power that defined its identity. Enthusiasts began to notice, and while some continued to cherish the Torino Cobra, its reputation as a true muscle car began to erode. Ford itself was also shifting its corporate focus. The muscle car era, which had been a marketing and engineering priority for much of the late 1960s and early 1970s, was giving way to a focus on safety, emissions compliance, and economy models. The Torino lineup continued to exist, but the Cobra variant, once the pinnacle of Ford's intermediate performance efforts, was quietly phased out. By the late 1970s, production of the Torino Cobra had ceased entirely, replaced by Torino models aimed at broader, more pragmatic markets. The once dominant muscle car had become a niche product, no longer aligned with Ford's strategic direction or the changing desires of American consumers. Despite its disappearance from the showroom, the Torino Cobra never truly vanished from memory. Car collectors, vintage enthusiasts, and drag racing communities kept its legacy alive, treating surviving examples as prized possessions. The car's limited production numbers, striking design, and historical significance have elevated it to classic muscle car status. Today, a well-preserved Torino Cobra commands respect and high prices among collectors, symbolizing a time when raw power, bold styling, and engineering audacity defined American performance cars. Though its reign was brief, the Torino Cobra story remains a cautionary yet celebrated chapter in automotive history. A reminder that even legends can be undone by forces beyond their control, whether economic, regulatory, or cultural.